The pace car is in, and James O'Shea and Matthew Nicholson in the 03 and 4 cars, respectively, are going to bring the field down. 42 cars begin the final race of the 2015 HARC Pro Series season, a 250-kilometer race at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. James O'Shea clears Nicholson very easily. Off into turn 1, Gerald Reddington tries to get into second, is unsuccessful. On board Derry as he heads into turn 1. Derry started almost exactly right in the middle of the field in 22nd, currently alongside Spencer Fullerton, trying to squeeze up, but Fullerton's still there, and Derry gets sent into the wall as a result. Derry is now going to be well behind the rest of the field. He's certainly got lots of time to make it up, though. Everyone swerves around just a little bit, trying to make sure they don't become part of Derry's incident. Fitzwater gets shoved out in a 3-wide battle with Fitzwater and Markel. Fitzwater gets out of the gas in a real hurry there and loses several positions, but a very smart move by Fitzwater to make sure that he doesn't end up with a wrecked race car on lap number 1. O'Shea may have led lap number 1, but Nicholson is now right on O'Shea's tail. O'Shea not such a good run through Moss Corner and down the Mario Andretti straightaway. Nicholson takes a look, he gets back in line though. Can't make the move stick. On lap number 2, Gerald Reddington in third, just behind these two. The top 3 have broken away from Riel and Samadio just a bit. These 3 certainly appear to be some of the fastest cars on track in the early going. Cameron Gaddu has lost a few spots since the beginning of this race, is back to 7th. Might lose that spot to DJ Curtis, who's currently on the inside, but that's going to become the outside through White's Corner, the final corner of this 2.5-mile road course. Cameron Gaddu trying to keep with it on the bottom. Amin Al-Ghul is going to follow Curtis through as Gaddu re-clears the 16 for 7th. Samadio drives by Riel for 4th, and up ahead Reddington going after Nicholson for 2nd position. Into the S's, Gerald Reddington really needs to win this race and lead the most laps in order to even have a shot at the championship. That's exactly what he's going for today. After winning his heat race at Kawartha Speedway, he's got the position over Nicholson on lap number 4. James O'Shea has begun to break away from the rest of the field, whose lead currently stands at more than 3 seconds over Gerald Reddington. They really slowed each other down back there while fighting for second. But James O'Shea, the early favorite here to win it, it does appear. He's setting quite a pace. Current average speed of the race is more than 103 miles per hour. Samadio heading into the pits at the end of lap number 6. That's really got to hurt for him. He's got a tire going down on that 47 car, and he was reeling in the 4 of Matthew Nicholson for a podium spot, and now that's probably going to mess up his pit schedule as well. Maxwell Chan blows up in the 07 car, coming down the front straightaway, going into turn 1 now, just trying to keep himself out of the way of the other drivers, now trying to cross back up the racetrack to get out of the racing line, and near contact there. Swinging to the outside of Chan, Louvier and Littlejohn end up off the racing surface. Louvier still trying to save it. As we go into Clayton Corner, he's got that thing saved. Of course, these drivers are going to have lost a lot of time from that. Spencer Fullerton actually gained some positions from that, but some great driving from those drivers to make sure they didn't make contact with Chan there. Chan might be putting oil down in the 07 as the 00 gets really loose off of turn number 1. Carl Endumian sent into the wall, and Alex Tanker and Tyler Markel get a big piece of that one. They slice into the left side of Carl Endumian, and Alex Tanker with some severe front end damage that tore the entire front of the car off. He's limping that thing back to the pits now. He came into this race 2nd in points, just 3 back of Mike Doan, but at the moment it looks like he's probably going to end up losing a lap or 2 repairing that damage if he's able to continue at all. And because of that, Tanker, just like back in 2012, 2013, he will not win the title despite coming in with great chances. John Morrison started towards the front, starting in 7th, and has made his way up yet further, currently sitting in 4th position, trying to catch Matthew Nicholson in the 4 to get into a podium position. Zach Riel got a better run through the corner, than him, might challenge him down the Mario Andretti straightaway. Cameron Cadieux and Nick Pericles currently racing for 6th. But Sean Morrison, as things stand right now, would be the champion if things finished as they are right now. Of course, Mike Doan still sitting outside the top 30. Alex Tanker in the pits. Another driver making his way forward gradually is Matt Duncan in the 99 car. He finished well at Grand Terre and Road America, getting a pair of podium runs at those road courses, looking to do the same thing here today. He's the only Team Thunder entry in the race. His team owner, William Duncan, one of 26 cars not to qualify into the event today. We're more than halfway towards the first set of pit stops. Zach Riel and Matthew Nicholson, the teammates, race side by side. Riel not willing to just sit behind his team owner Nicholson as Sean Morrison makes some contact with more contact there, as Morrison ended up off the road in the S's. He's got to keep himself out of trouble here. He's doing well so far. No need to be that aggressive this early, but Sean Morrison nonetheless still alongside the 4, and he will grab 4th. Get his way back into 4th through turn 1. Neither of the Canadian Tire Series boys are doing too well to start off the day. Don Thompson Jr. has worked his way up to 19th. J.R. Fitzpatrick, on the other hand, still well into the 20s. Racing with Rusty Babinski. Sam Curtis looking for a pass through Quebec corner. Nice timely move there. Up ahead, Spencer Fullerton and Luca Obrovac side by side down through turn number 4. Luca, of course, will not be winning the championship again today. Last year's champion has had quite a mediocre season. He's had a few good runs, but other than that, not too much to say about Obrovac's season. As we come to the end of the opening quarter of the race, Doan has made up a few spots, 5 to be exact. He's up to 34th in that 72 machine. With Tanker out of the picture, what Doan really needs to focus on here is just making sure he gets some points in this race, cracks the top 30. If he can crack the top 20, then he might be able to shut out all of the other competitors, which would be really convenient for him, considering how well Sean Morrison's doing so far. He's got lots of time to do that. 45 more laps to go for Doan. Some very hard racing as the tires begin to fall off. These drivers posting 5 seconds slower lap times than they did at the beginning of the race. Sean Morrison and Riel again side by side for 4th position, I believe. Cadieux sitting right behind them. Nicholson still there as well. Curtis still well within the picture behind them. Another group of drivers racing for position. Amin Al-Ghul has cracked the top 10 in the 96 car. No surprise there. He's done well on road courses this year. Finguy with a charge on Duncan through Quebec corner and down into 4. Nelson doing well as well. Faber in around the top 12 in the 12 machine. Jeffrey Finguy is going to kick off the first cycle of pit stops by coming in on lap number 20 in the 20 machine. Everyone pretty much plans on making this a 2-stop race, but we're going to probably see 2 distinct strategies when it comes to pit stops. We're going to have the early pitters and the late pitters. The early pitters are going to likely come in on lap 20 and 40, respectively. They are going to have a lot fresher rubber than the drivers that stay out longer, but they are going to have to lose some track position in the process and are going to have to race their way through a lot of traffic. The late pitters, of course, are going to have to deal with less traffic, but they're going to be posting much slower lap times than the drivers that come in earlier. Some problems under the hood of the 98 car. They couldn't get that thing refired after the pit stop, and I think they're going to have to replace the battery or something on that car, and that's going to cost him a lap or 2 at least. Really a shame for Chris Louvier and the rest of that team. This is some of the problems you can encounter as a early pitter. Ali Nelson and Matt Duncan have made their pit stops, as well as a few other guys. They're currently being held up a little bit by Bill Littlejohn, who has yet to make his pit stop and is currently 12 seconds slower than them. But Bill Littlejohn, after contact with Ali Nelson, is sent into the turn 2 wall. Some severe rear end damage. He's going to need to come in to pit that car to repair some of that damage and, of course, get some fresh tires as well. Real shame for him. Not the kind of start to the day that Lil Jon was looking for. Back up front, James O'Shea, with a 10-second lead, finally decides to pit that 03 car at the end of lap 25, I do believe. James O'Shea certainly going for the late pit strategy. He's going to end up back in traffic at first, but he should be able to work his way back up to the front as the second cycle closes in about 15 or 20 laps or so. Up front, it is Tyler Faber and Luca Obrovac racing side by side for position. P1 actually is what they're racing for right now. These guys well off the pace, still yet to make their first pit stops. Luca Obrovac's going to clear the 12 heading off into the corner. Obrovac would like to lead a lap in this race. It might be the first lap he's led all season. In fact, in that 3 car, can't remember another instance of it happening as they finally pit their cars. Tyler Markell stays out. Of course, Markell had to pit earlier for the front end damage. And I believe it will be Nicholas Samadio picking up the lead temporarily in the 47 machine. On the Mario Andretti straightaway, still waiting for some drivers to make their pit stops. Don Thompson Jr. and Mike Doan, the pair of drivers leading this enormous pack, have yet to pit. And because of that, they've created an enormous stack up. Alex Tanker and TJ Dent go off the road in the S's. Jeffrey Finguy off the road as well, as is Matthew Nicholson. What a save by both of those drivers, particularly Finguy, to keep that thing off the wall. Doan, Fullerton, Fitzwater, Terrence Day, Tyler Faber finally make their pit stops. Don Thompson Jr. stays out just for the hell of it one more time. More calamities caused just up ahead coming into turn number 2. Sam Curtis gets into the back of Julian Sanchez, and around Sanchez goes. Curtis also has some damage to the front of that car, I do believe. Not too much, but the hood is just picked up slightly from that contact. That might be a little bit of a deficit for him as he continues on throughout the day. Samadio made a pit stop earlier on in the race. Curtis still yet to pit, but Samadio will temporarily inherit the lead. Very temporarily, considering the aggressive move. Cameron Gaddu just pulled on the 47 and the 16 through that corner. Gaddu appears to be the first car out there on fresh tires. Sawyer Girl is currently up to second in that 01 car. What a drive it's been for him today. He started in the 20th row, back in 40th spot, and at the moment he is, bar none, the hard charger of the race. If he can keep this up, he may just win the championship as well. He came into this race 4th in points. Samadio was actually the driver he was tied with for that spot, but Samadio's certainly going to have to make another stop. Samadio's now on a 3-stop strategy after his early tire troubles, I imagine. So Sawyer Girl doesn't have to worry about him too much. Girl on his way towards Gaddu for the lead. After the pit cycle generally sorted itself out, Nicholas Samadio is still out there, of course, but James O'Shea finds himself in 13th spot, around 10 seconds back of race leader Cameron Gaddu. Samadio's really just becoming a nuisance at this point, creating a big stack up behind him. Curtis with a move on O'Shea for 13th. Stroman right behind, as well as Matthew Nicholson. Would expect Samadio to get turned if he keeps this up. The 16 riding the 47's bumper. Finally, Samadio allows the inside line to go by, and O'Shea loses several positions. Finguy, Nicholson, J.R. Fitzpatrick, and Curtis all drive by the 47 as the 66 goes into the wall. Marcus Stroman with a little bit of damage there to that 66, actually pretty severe to his rear end, and yet more damage to the 58 of Julian Sanchez. Zach Riel finds himself with engine problems coming out of Quebec corner. Morrison by for that spot, and Riel respectfully drives into the grass to get out of harm's way. Nice job by him to make sure he doesn't mess up anybody else's race in the process, but I'm sure that's got to worry Matthew Nicholson, who's right up towards the front right now. Sawyer Girl forced to give up second spot to Matt Duncan. Duncan had been trying for a couple of laps to get by Girl. He appears to be a lot faster than the 01 car. Sawyer falling off just a little bit. He pitted really early in that 01 car and is paying for the price for it a little bit here. Got the track position at the start of the second stint, but is beginning to lose it just a little bit. At the halfway point, Gadoo still has the lead and has a 5-second advantage over Duncan. Sawyer Girl still holding on to third. Looks good for his championship potential there. James O'Shea trying to make his way back up into the top 10. Finguy just behind Reddington there as well. Sanchez still doing surprisingly well despite his damage. And Sean Morrison somewhere in the teens. Despite a little bit of front end damage, Sam Curtis has cracked the top 4 after overtaking DJ Curtis and Sawyer Girl. Curtis on the charge in that 19 car. Curtis pretty much needs to win the race in order to capture the championship. He now has the hard charger bonus if things stay as they are. As you see Tanker in the pits yet again in that 15 car. Really rough day for him after a pair of accidents. Nelson is just in front and holds the final podium spot in the Discover Alaska machine. She's slowly picked her way up into that position over the course of this race. Allie Nelson coming into the pits this lap. It's only lap 36, so this can't be a scheduled second stop. Nelson apparently has a tire going down, and they just want to make sure that that thing doesn't explode while she's out on course. Real shame for her. She had made her way up so well over the course of this day, and she will suddenly lose all of that, and she will likely have to make a third stop in this race, putting her back yet further. Don Thompson Jr. appears to have a problem. He's in the pits with some sort of engine issue. Matt Duncan has now caught Cameron Gadoo in the 24 in an aggressive move into turn 1 for Duncan, going after the lead. Not going to be able to get it. Gadoo slips back in front of the 99 as we head into Clayton Corner, and Gadoo will hold on to it for now. Duncan very fast. He managed to close a 5-second gap in just a few laps in that 99 car. O'Shea is back up to third in that 03 car. He's made up quite a few seconds over the course of this green flag stint. Of course, the tire's beginning to wear. We're getting closer to the second cycle of pit stops. Mike Doan is now up into the top 24, now up to 23rd as he goes by the 8 of Nick Pericles, trying to follow Jacob Young through. Might make a move on him actually out of Quebec corner. Yeah, here he goes with some help from Spencer Fullerton under the Continental Tire sign and into turn 4. Yeah, he's got the spot on Jacob Young. What a drive by Mike Doan. If he can keep this up, he will certainly be the champion of this season. Even with drivers like Sawyer Girl and Sam Curtis running so close to the front. Just ahead of Doan, Fitzwater and Thaber race side by side through the S's. They nearly make some contact there. Doan might follow Thaber through if he can make it work through White's corner to end lap number 40. Doan into the back of the 44, and the 44 hard into the inside wall. Some contact there with Spencer Fullerton. He's got some damage. Terrence Day got a piece of that as Endumian and Louvier go to the grass to avoid that one. Some nice avoidance by them as Endumian gets really loose through there, as does his teammate Carl Endumian in the one car. I think there might be some oil down still from Maxwell Chan, but Doan dropping like a rock as he goes up the track to the outside to get out of the other driver's way. He's got front and rear damage to that 72 car. A devastating blow to Mike Doan's championship hopes. He came in as the points leader, and this would be his first DNF of the year if that's what that team has to do. But I'm sure they're going to try and keep him out on track just in case they can get him back into the top 30. Matt Duncan, the new leader, he was able to get the lead from Cameron Gadoo about 1 lap ago on this very straightaway, the Mario Andretti straightaway. But James O'Shea has caught both of those drivers in a real hurry. He goes by Cameron Gadoo for second, and James O'Shea once again on the charge for the race lead. He wants that thing back. He runs a little bit wide through the first part of the S's. Matt Duncan appears like he's going to pit. Yes, he pits this lap. Very smart decision on behalf of the 99 to not put himself back in traffic. He figured he might as well do it now, I suppose. But James O'Shea back into the race lead, and I'm sure he will gap Gadoo in a real hurry here. He's certainly got the fresher tires at this point in the stint. It's been quite an eventful day for Julian Sanchez. A pair of crashes and now an engine failure will take her out of the race. This race certainly has taken a toll on equipment, nearly twice as long as any other race this year. James O'Shea trying to make his tires last as long as possible. He would like a very short stint on the last set of tires, although that will put him back in the field. But I guess O'Shea is confident that he can get to the front. Every lap, though, he's losing around 7 seconds at least to Matt Duncan, I imagine. Spencer Fullerton, despite having the rear end, just got his lap back from O'Shea earlier this lap and has gapped him by at least 3 or 4 seconds. Sam Medeo coming up to overtake O'Shea down the Mario Andretti straightaway as well. It'll be hard to say whether or not O'Shea's strategy will work out, but if he continues to lose time like this, I really doubt it will. Yet another driver finds himself up in a cloud of smoke. Obrovac blows up coming through turn 1, coming to 20 laps to go. James O'Shea finally pits the 03 car at the end of lap number 47. He's only going to need to run 17 laps on the fresh tires that he gets under this stop. Gerald Reddington also in, as is Ryder Smith. These drivers stayed out the longest. It'll be interesting to see where they come out at the end of this race. Matt Duncan in the 99 currently holds the lead. Sawyer Girl back up into second. Now going for track position. James O'Shea just barely got into his stall now, and Matt Duncan flies by pit road. James O'Shea is going to find himself well behind the leader, perhaps as much as twice as far as he was last time. It's really going to be hard for him to close the gap in time, I think. Sawyer Girl reeling in Matt Duncan just a little bit in the 99 car as we enter the final quarter of the race, the final 16 laps of the 2015 HARC Pro Series season. Girl doesn't have to worry about Doan or Tanker now. Doan is a lap down, Tanker is 2 in the mangled 15, sitting just a couple of seconds back of the 01 car. His nearest championship rival is Sean Morrison, who's sitting around 13th, I do believe, 13th or 14th in the 06 car, 25 seconds back of the 01 car. Girl does appear to have the championship locked up as things stand right now. James O'Shea finds himself 23.5 seconds back of Matt Duncan once all was said and done after the second pit cycle. It's going to be nearly impossible for him to close the gap that fast. I mean, that's a second and a half a lap, every single lap to the end of the race in order to get it done. Mike Doan finds himself in 32nd currently. It must be agony to hear over the radio that Girl is doing so well, currently sitting on the podium. Doan just needs a couple more drivers to go out of the race in order to get back in the points, though, and that could happen, of course, in the remaining time, but not anymore. Doan just blew up in the 72 car, and any chances at getting more points have just ended for that 72 crew. A real shame for him, but he will likely not be the champion of the 2015 HARC Pro Series season, and this is his first DNF of the year as he comes to a stop in the S's. 12 laps to go now for Sawyer Girl, but he just lost second to the 16 of DJ Curtis. Girl well off the pace of Duncan up in the race lead. The 16 is catching Duncan as it is right now, but Girl still 9 positions in front of Sean Morrison and more than 18 seconds in front. Just needs to hold on for these final few minutes. James O'Shea once again on the move in the 03 car. He's up to 7th spot somehow in the 03 car, sitting behind Jeffrey Finguy through Moss Corner. He might be able to make the move down this straight if he can get there. Didn't have the best exit though. But a few positions behind them. Sean Morrison not having quite as much luck getting through some of the other drivers. He just got by Sam Curtis. He's still not even inside the top 10, and he's well back of O'Shea. Girl knows he is slower, and Cameron Gaddu and Nicholas Samadio and Annie Thomas are going to the front. Samadio is a lap down, but is assisting Gaddu on his run towards Duncan. Sawyer Girl just trying his best to maintain a good position here. Needs to stay inside the top 10. Would have needed to stay inside the top 12, but Sawyer Girl actually managed to not only put down the fastest lap, but he is still currently the hard charger of the race as things stand right now. Duncan out of Moss Corner coming towards 6 laps to go. Curtis and Gaddu are catching him. Duncan might just be saving his stuff though. He might just be saving it for those final few laps where he gets back on the gas and pulls away, but we won't know really until Curtis gets up towards Duncan what Duncan has to offer in order to claim perhaps his first victory in the HARC Pro Series. He, of course, like I said earlier, he finished very well at Road America a few weeks ago, as well as Grand Terre a few months ago. James O'Shea is in the top 5 now, and he can see Matt Duncan in Moss Corner as he heads into the corner, coming to 5 to go this time. And what an incredible run through Moss Corner he has as he closes up on Andy Thomas by, I think, more than a second, and is now going on Thomas for position. Now here he comes on Gaddu for third perhaps. Gaddu had no time to react at all there, and he might go after Curtis here for second. What an incredible drive down the Mario Andretti straightaway. He gets him, even though he's squeezed all the way down to the line, and he's into second. As we head into the S's, Nicholas Samadio trying to get his way by Duncan. That's not going to help Duncan. Certainly in holding off O'Shea here in the final few laps. If Duncan has anything left in the tank, he's got to use it now. Sawyer Girl has fallen to 7th and is continuing to be well off the pace of his fellow competitors, while Sean Morrison has charged his way into the top 10 and is now up into 8th, just 1 position behind Sawyer Girl, but a large gap still lies between them as the laps wind down here with Doan and Tanker out of the points race. It's going to be between these two drivers to settle it out for the HARC Pro Series Championship this year. Sawyer Girl came into this race 2 points behind Sean Morrison in points, but the fastest lap bonus and hard charger bonus will likely go to Sawyer Girl, which means that Morrison needs to get by Girl if he's going to win the championship. That it will be whoever finishes in front of the other that wins the title. Meanwhile, back up front, somehow James O'Shea has pulled it off. He's gotten to Matt Duncan, and he simply just drives right on by him down the Mario Andretti straightaway. It didn't appear that Matt Duncan was hiding anything on these final few laps, and Duncan's going to have a hard time holding off the drivers behind him, let alone recharging and going after James O'Shea as he begins to pull away through the S's here, coming to 4 to go, and O'Shea, the dominant car of the day, appears to have this thing in the bag. 3.5 laps to go, and Sean Morrison is now, I'm sure, in the rear view mirror of Sawyer Girl as they go through Quebec Corner. Morrison is closing in a real hurry. Just the last lap around, Morrison closed by 3.5 seconds. A nearly impossible to comprehend closure rate has led Morrison up to Girl's back bumper in the final few laps, and he's now right there as they go through Moss Corner. Is Sawyer Girl going to be able to protect for another 10 or so miles around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park? No, Morrison gets to his inside down the Mario Andretti straightaway, and Sawyer Girl has no choice but to let Morrison on through. Great to see the mutual respect between those two drivers goes above a simple trophy, but Sean Morrison has the 7th spot, and with it the points lead as things stand with just 3 laps to go. James O'Shea has gapped Duncan by more than 12 seconds. coming to the white flag this time. Duncan has more worries though. He's got Gadoo and Thomas all over his back bumper. Duncan just trying to hold the racing line and defend for one more lap. But Gadoo and Thomas race side by side through turn 1. That's going to help Duncan open up a bit more of an advantage. He might be able to hold on to second here for the remaining 2 or so miles. Ryder Smith has somehow cracked the top 5 in that 7 car. I cannot believe he's able to do that, considering he started the final quarter of the race 40 seconds behind Duncan. Incredible that we've seen the later drivers have such an advantage in this final sim. We simply didn't see that between the first and second pit stop cycles. But Annie Thomas blows up, coming off of Quebec corner. That's a real shame for her, and she will go out of the race on the final lap. Really gotta be heartbreaking for her as Ryder Smith drives by DJ Curtis to get into 4th. Doesn't look like Cameron Gadoo is going to get to Matt Duncan for 2nd. But up front, James O'Shea, clearly the dominant driver of the day, led the most laps, started on pole, and now out of White's corner for the final time. James O'Shea across the line to get his 2nd victory of the year and his 3rd overall. Duncan and Gadoo still going at it for 2nd as we go through the S's for the final time into the final corner. Duncan will hold Gadoo off for 2nd. Another 2nd place. Finish his 2nd in a row, I do believe. After Road America, Gadoo finishes 3rd. Led some laps earlier on. Can't be disappointed with a run like that. And Ryder Smith has got to be grinning from ear to ear after making his way up into 4th. Given one more lap, certainly could have gotten 2nd place. It is DJ Curtis holding off Finguy for 5th. Finguy finishes in the 6th spot. And Sean Morrison is the champion, finishing 7th. More on him in another minute or so. Kim Markell finishes 8th in the O2 car. Gerald Reddington 9th. And Sawyer Girl holds on to 10th. And he will come home 2nd in the championship race. Just 1 point ahead of Mike Doan. It will end up being... He's certainly got to be a little bit disappointed that he's not the champion after being in 2nd and holding the podium spot with just 15 laps to go. He was still looking good with 10 laps to go, and he was still looking good, I'd say, even with 5 laps to go. But Morrison got there in such a rapid pace that Girl just couldn't do anything in the end there. On Morrison coming down the front straightaway to finish his reverse lap of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park facility and beginning his championship celebrations with a burnout. Here in the S's it does appear. What a year it's been for not only Morrison but that entire organization working for that 06 car. Morrison won his first race at Grand Terre. And along with that win, he had 4 top 5s this year, 7 top 10s, but perhaps the most impressive statistic about Sean Morrison's year was that not only did he finish every single race this year, but he finished every single race this year on the lead lap, which shows the absolute near perfection that entire organization had this year. Not only did Sean Morrison keep himself out of trouble, but of course the builders kept that car failure-proof all year round, all year long rather. His pit crew near perfection there as well, never making a mistake and keeping him in competition. Coming out of round 14, Morrison was sitting 35th in points, but the win he had at Grand Terre, along with a 2nd place finish in Richmond and another top 10 at Grand Detour, led him to coming into this race 3rd in points, just 20 points back after finishing 2nd in his heat race. He got 4 points in his heat race, and it is that made the difference. In the point standings at the end of the year, he won the championship by just 3 points over Sawyer Girl, got 4 in the heat race, as I just said. And what a final stint he had, making his way up from 13th, more than 20 seconds back of Sawyer Girl to capture the 2015 HARC Pro Series Championship. Well deserved championship for that entire team.